Hello, fourth graders. This is Miss Frost here with your math lesson today. On your screen, you'll see the learning objective. It says, I can determine the decimal and fraction that name tenths or hundredths place on a number line. So today we're going to continue with what we learned yesterday and get a little bit more practice. So we're going to be looking at number lines that name tenths or hundredths and seeing where we can place the decimals and fractions. Let's do a quick decimal warm-up. On your screen, there are two different word forms of two different decimals. Use the place value chart in your notes or the one I provided above for you to help you. Pause the video and press play when you're ready to check your work. All right, let's check. The first thing I notice is the word and. When I see and in any number, I know that means my decimal point. So now I'm going to look before my and after my and to see what belongs as the whole numbers and what belongs in the decimal. So I'm going to put my decimal right in the middle. First, I see 32. So that means I have 32 wholes and 8 tenths. Well, my 8 has to be in the tenths because it told me that my 8 was in the tenths place. Because I don't see anything listed as hundredths, I know there's no number in my hundredths or no digit in my hundredths place. The next one, I have 6 and 4 hundredths. So I have 6 as my whole number, and now I have 4 hundredths. Well, let's think. First place value is tenths. The second place value is hundredths. If I have 4 hundredths, that means my 4 is in the hundredths place. What that would mean, I wouldn't have any tenths. So I'm going to put a 0 in my tenths place. So I have 6 and 4 hundredths. Now I want you to pause your video and I want you to make these into fractions. How do I make 32 and 8 tenths into a fraction and 6 and 4 hundredths into a fraction? Pause your video and press play when you're ready to check. Okay, I know for my 32 and 8 tenths that 32 is not part of my fraction because it's not part of my decimal. It's just part of the whole number. When I see my decimal point, that's telling me now I'm moving into part of a whole. And I know fractions and decimals both show parts of a whole. Well, my 8 is in my tenths place. So that means I have 8 more pieces out of 10. I have 32 and 8 tenths. Remember our clue that if they sound the same, we wrote them correctly. If something sounds different, then you may have written your fraction incorrectly because they should sound the exact same or equal to each other when we say them out loud. Next, I have 6 and 4 hundredths. Again, I see my decimal point here. So that shows me that I have 6 wholes. And now I have a 0 in the tenths place, but I have a 4 in the hundredths place. That means I have 4 pieces out of 100 more. I think of that one like pennies. I have 4 pennies out of 100. 100 pennies would make another dollar, but I only have 4 there. I also don't even have 10 cents. If I had 10 cents, I would see a 1 in my tenths place. So this is a pretty small number, which is why we show it as only 4 in the hundredths place or 4 hundredths. So let's review a simple number line, something that goes from 0 to 10. And let's say there's 10 spaces. Okay, there's 10 equal parts that are split up between 0 and 10. Well, that would show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we've split 10 into 10 equal parts, so each of my smallest jumps from tick to tick is 1. So what if we changed it now and we zoomed in between 0 and 1? So here I've set up our number line between 0 and 1. I like to add my invisible zeros, and that helps me think about how much my smaller jumps should be. So if I'm doing a big jump from 0 to 1 whole, that's like $1. So I'm starting with nothing and I'm ending up with 1 flat. Well, I should be splitting it into 10 equal parts since my number line split into 10 equal parts. Not a very good picture, but we know when we split a flat into 10 equal parts, we have a long. So that would show 0 and 1/10. Well, now I add another long. I see 0 and 2/10. I can add another long. I see 0 and 3/10. When I get all the way to my other side of my number line, I would have 9 longs. So I would have 0 and 9/10. And when I was to add one more, then I would have 1 whole. So when my large jump is from whole number to whole number, that means my smaller jumps are 1/10 at a time. So what if I started at 5 and went to 6? Okay, I have 5 to 6. Well, that's a jump of 1 whole. So let's think about what each small jump would be. If it's split into 10 equal pieces, so if my jump is 1 whole or 1 flat, then I need to take 1/10 at a time and add it to my 5 because I'm taking 1/10 because it's split into 10 pieces. So 1/10 more than 5 wholes. There's my 5 wholes. If I'm adding 1 more tenth, well, then I have 5 and 1/10. If I add another, I have 5 and 2/10, 5 and 3/10, 5 and 4/10. And I would keep going until I got to 5 and 9/10. Then if I added one more, I would have 6 wholes. I know I can also write each amount as a fraction. I could say 5 and 9/10 is equal to 5 and 9/10. I know 5 and 4/10 is equal to 5 and 4/10. So I can go back and forth between my decimals and fractions to show how many pieces of the whole I have. Now let's zoom in even further, and let's say I'm between 0 and 1/10. Now I've zoomed in even further on my number line. This is going to be another time it's going to be very helpful for you to add your decimal and your invisible zeros. Well, now I can see my jump is 1/10. I'm going from something like $0.00 to $0.10. So if I have a number line split into 10 equal pieces, well, then each jump needs to be 1/100th, like 1 penny. Because I'm starting with 0 and I want to get all the way to 1 whole. Well, it would take 10 units to get to 1 whole. So my first tick would be 0 and 1/100th. Next I would have 0 and 2/100ths, 0 and 3/100ths. And I know it's 0 because my number line started with a 0 and because I haven't made any full wholes yet and I haven't made any tenths yet. And once I get to 9/100ths, if I add one more, then I would have made a whole long. So let's say we have a number line between 5 and 4/10 and 5 and 5/10. I want you to find the decimal 5 and 46/100ths, or we could write it as 5 and 46/100ths. Go find that on the number line and click play again when you're ready to check. So go ahead and pause. All right, let's check and let's think. My big jump looks like it's 1/10. So I'm going to add my invisible 0 to make it easier to envision what each small jump is going to be. Well, I have 5 and 40/100ths, 5 and 50/100ths. I like to think of this like money. $5.40, $5.50. So if I split that big jump into 10 equal pieces, well, I'm going to have to add a penny each time until I have 10 more pennies to get $5.50. Well, I know my pennies are equal to 1/100th. So my next is going to be 5 41/100ths, 5 42/100ths, 5 43/100ths, 5 44/100ths, 5 45/100ths, 5 46/100ths, 5 47/100ths, 5 48/100ths, 5 49/100ths, and 5 50/100ths, or 5 5/10ths. So I wanted to find the spot 5 46/100ths would be right here. A good strategy whenever you have a number line is to label each part, each little tick, so you know exactly where your spot should be. Your next step is going to be the next part in the hub, so go ahead and continue your lesson. Make sure you're submitting your exit ticket today. You should also be doing 30 minutes of Imagine Math. So step 1 is to do your exit ticket, which will be next in the hub. Step 2 is to work on your Imagine Math. You should be able to get in 30 minutes today, and I will be checking your Imagine Math today and tomorrow. Go ahead and start working and do your best. Take your time on your exit ticket. Let's see some 100%s. Go ahead.